Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. Today's the 30th of May, 2017, and I believe that we are live. I am joined by one of the most prolific authors that I personally know, and his work has basically come to life. Everything that he put out in his documentaries and in his writings has pretty much come to pass. This is Gonz from Face Like the Sun. Gonz, what's up, brother?
How's it going, Richie? How you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. I'm glad you could make it. I understand that you're a new father, and that cannot possibly be easy. I can't even imagine, man.
Well, it's second time at being a father, but then first of my own, if that makes any sense. So
no, it does. It does. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. So it's a little different, but at the same time, it's a blessing, man. It's so much fun.
Nice, nice. I'm glad to hear it, man. Let me ask you. I've never actually heard anybody interview you, so I want to hear, how did you stumble down this entirely enormous rabbit hole that we've all found ourselves in?
Oh man, I think a lot of it has to do with conditioning that I was exposed to as a kid. And you know, one of the things that's really interesting with my life is that I'm a second generation Japanese American, which means my parents came here, they're considered first generation, and then I was born in America, which makes me second generation. I don't know why the logic is like that, but that's how I was told. So anyway, I'm second generation Japanese American, and so I didn't have any allegiance to anything. I didn't have any kind of foundation for like understanding what's going on around me, like literally, like language, everything, Japanese in the home, English out in the world, you know. So it was kind of this weird thing going on where the conditioning, all the commercials and the media that started piling up around me, because, you know, I don't know how old you are, Richie, but when I was growing up, it was like Oregon Trail was introduced to us in school, like fourth grade, I think.
Right.
And we were playing video games, and, you know, Nintendo and all that stuff was brand new to us, and we were the first generation to really get our hands on that kind of stuff and look at it. And I guess, you know, I saw in myself, as I got obsessed with some of that stuff, like, whoa, man, that taps into a really dark side of me. And this is even before I was a Christian or anything like that. I recognized that as a kid, like, hey, you know, these tools are very manipulative. They can really mess with you and take you down dark paths. So I recognized that immediately. And so when I started, you know, questioning things about the world around me, which I did a lot growing up, it was an interesting path because, you know, I wasn't brought up in any kind of belief system, any kind of religion. My parents were just kind of like, they didn't discuss religion. I guess they were just non-religious, you know, so that wasn't part of my upbringing at all. But then the questions came about, and I just used to think like, hey, Christians and, you know, those people are crazy. Religious people are crazy. That's just what I thought. You know, that's literally how I was brought up. So to question why that was the case was a big deal for me as well. And so, you know, it was all these different things. But then as I just started to discover the truth about Christ, I started to question, okay, wait a minute. There's this other thing labeled truth that I know about that's kind of, you know, I didn't really investigate it too hard at that point, but, you know, questioning and conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I was 18 when the, you know, 9/11 happened, you know, 2001. So, you know, I was very young and I was very naive, but as the years passed and as, you know, Loose Change came out, and so, you know, that sentiment of like, hey, what we're being told is not true, was there from the get-go. But, you know, it was try to like, what I tried to do was, okay, wait, how does the that world of conspiracy and truth relate to the Bible and everything else? And at the beginning, when I started asking these questions to pastors and things in my community, they kind of shunned me, and they were kind of like, you know, I don't know, they just put me down. And I'm kind of like, wait a minute, if the Bible's supposed to be true and it's the word of God, then it should have much more to do with all this stuff, or at least have something to say. And, you know, they didn't mention anything. They were like, no, you're going down a path that's, you know, it's not good. It's divisive, all this stuff. So, but as I discovered that Bible prophecy, that, you know, there's this future element to the biblical word, that's when things started to click for me in terms of like, okay, wait a minute, the stuff that's the truth and all that conspiracy stuff in conjunction with and being supercharged with technology as this century has unfolded, and really we're not even 20 years in, but the stuff they're talking about doing is just ridiculous, so and that's just normal news. It's just everyday stuff that guys like Mark Zuckerberg, who's the face of Facebook, is saying he wants to mind upload us, and he wants to be president. I mean, we're living in this crazy place now, and it's just remarkable that more people don't recognize the biblical prophetic aspect of it, and that's kind of what drives me in the channel and everything else. Is I want to be able to share that angle of like, hey, the Bible actually has so much truth to what's happening today that it's really important for Christians to recognize at least that angle exists, that viewpoint exists, and that it seems to lock in pretty tightly with everything happening around us now.
Without a doubt. It staggers the imagination how quickly technology has come up, spread out, and taken over. I mean, it's amazing. People just basically take anything that they hear from technology companies with a grain of salt. It just the astronomical numbers, all the technology and all the plans that they're making, like the neural lace, injecting it into your jugular vein, uploading. You've got a kid that came up with this is the story. Zuckerberg came up with Facebook while he was in college, so forth and so on. And it's a great thing.
He stole it from some
No, I got you. I'm just saying what their story is.
Yeah.
But suddenly now he has the capability to let someone running for president, i.e. Hillary Clinton, borrow his artificial intelligence to help her with the campaign. And he also wants to directly upload Facebook and other things directly to your mind. I mean, that is not a normal jump. It's not a normal progression. It just goes from I don't even have an analogy, to tell you the truth.
No, it's true. And what's funny is I've been really looking at this Bitcoin space because I think cryptocurrencies is going to be a major key in progressing this kind of stuff forward, as everything becomes more digital. And, I've always maintained as I've looked at this that, hey, I think there's opportunities here, but it's leading to something pretty dark, so super long term, we should really look out for literally the mark, I think, under this sort of process. But, in the meantime, we have to occupy and we have to do things. And there is, quote unquote, a financial opportunity there as, these bankers start moving the dollar into the cryptocurrency space. So, just something to be aware about, educate yourself on these topics and stuff. But yeah, dude, the thing that's really crazy about Bitcoin is the rumor or the talk of what can kill Bitcoin is quantum computers, because essentially it can just, the encryption won't matter anymore. The quantum computer can, spit out all the possibilities and boom, all the encryption is just, useless. That's one argument, and that's true on one end, but also on the other end, what if the quantum computer can help assist in building the Bitcoin and the decentralized model, which I'm in favor of that decentralized model. It's very fascinating. I think it's part of what we should be doing as a community of people, of mankind, and so it's just one of those issues where it's getting so messy and it's kind of hard to wade through all of it. So I think we have to keep talking about it and bringing up these issues because it's what we project now. I think you and a lot of people see it. It's like, dude, let's put the brakes on a little bit with some of the development, and we're either just going to have to separate away from them, which I think we already are, kind of like looking from afar with some of the stuff they're doing. Like, whoa, dude, you guys are really pushing it. You guys are really going in that direction. So it's just that chasm between the two is going to keep growing, and I just hope we don't see. I really hope, okay, that guys like Dr. Hugo de Garis is wrong about his prediction, and he's coming from purely within the community of artificial intelligence and brain, artificial brain development and stuff like that. He's creating all this, or he used to create all this stuff, and he's saying that there's going to be this art-elect war, that there's going to be these factions of humanity basically splitting up into different factions or whatever, and having a war, and a lot of up to 1 billion people can die in that war. That's a really dark, grim future, but what's I guess very important for us to understand is like what we're seeing literally in front of us with the stories that you bring up and other channels. In my channel, we touch on these topics and stories that are out there. Unless it's all just a facade, and all those stories that we talk about are just complete fabrications, which I don't believe, then they really are progressing quite quickly. And that's the stuff they're telling us, right? The stuff they're not telling us, how I'm sure that they have done some very, very dark, twisted things already, and some very dark, twisted things have manifested. And, you know, we're living in that world now. Like, you gotta look around and realize that that's what's happening. The paranormal realm is sort of manifesting in a way that's unprecedented. You know, the footage that's caught with video cameras and everything else, it's getting pretty crazy. And I know that stuff can be faked and whatnot, but I think at a certain point, it's going to have a tipping point where it can't just all be CGI, you know, and created by machines and stuff. But I don't know, Richie, you got me like going, man.
It's all good. It's all good. That's what people want to hear, brother. That's what they want to hear. I can't help but notice that it's so easy to go back to all the people that are bringing forth this technology. Just for instance, off the top of my head, Elon Musk, where just a couple of years ago, he was literally warning and comparing AI to demons and saying, this is dangerous, this will take over. And then suddenly you can kind of envision that they took him into a back room. They show him John F. Kennedy's head exploding and say, you know, we need you to put a friendly face on. And then he comes right back out and says, you know what? If we don't all take an injection into our jugular vein and get the neural lace wrapped around our brains, we're not going to be able to compete. I mean, what do you think of stuff like that? I mean, he's saying one thing and then he's saying the exact polar opposite not too long afterwards, and that's what he seems to be sticking with.
Yeah. Well, obviously, I think he was either confronted or, you know, whatever happened. We don't know. We don't have any proof of that kind of stuff. But I would imagine something going on behind the scenes. And with guys like Elon Musk, it's very suspicious. You know, the age group of the guys that are out there now, the big tech moguls, all kind of similar in age. You know,
right.
But it's yeah. I think guys like Elon Musk internally, like I look at him and I think he's struggling. Like I think there's a part of him that's like, dude, this is so wrong.
Right.
I have to say this, otherwise, like I'm pretty much dead. You know, like that kind of fear. Sorry, my baby's.
It's all good. It's all good.
Sorry, I'm just gonna grab her here.
Do what you got to do, brother. It's all good. It's all good. Let me just say while you're doing that I have literally spent countless hours driving across America. I've done it several times, and I have listened at least 3 times to every episode on Canary Cry. For those that don't know, Gonz has Face Like the Sun, and he also has Canary Cry Radio, where he does a show with Basil, and they have some of the best speakers, and they just go with it, much like we're doing right now. They just go with it. Robbie Davidson, Anthony Patch, everybody. Derek Gilbert, I mean, everybody. This is an amazing format for those that have never heard of it before. It sounds like she's fighting you and winning.
Yeah, well, she's been labeled the post-apocalyptic warrior samurai princess or something. So
nice. Well, we're gonna need them, so it works out well.
Yeah, no, she'll be good to go in a few years. You know, she'll be able to fight the AI.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah, you know, that kind of stuff is really crazy because, you know, the stuff I've been reading about with the AI DAOs. I talked about it with Sean from SG2 Report the other day.
Right.
And I've been meaning to make a video. Hold on.
Yep. Take your time. I'm going to check with the chat real quick while you're doing that. We got Jason Gerd, Renee, Joe Bunn, Duff, Candace Kush, I can't say your last name, Candace, sorry, Goldfish, Josh M, Jen, aka that makeup chick, Bart Connors, what's up, brother? Kara Glasser, Erin, Friends in Truth, what's up? Ross Q, John Smith, Kingdom of Hope, Tom Guns, what's up, brother? David Gagnon, indeed, we do. BMX for BTB, yeah, they do that. So YouTube messes with us all the time. They got us really bad in the last live stream, so I'm expecting it this time as well. But it is what it is. You can only do what you can do. Oh my. John Smith, Brandon G. I gotta slow this down. Wow, this chat is flying. Dunja McKick. Static TX, Justin Schumann, God is my sensei. That's a good name. Ms. Harrison, Ruby Andrews, Lucas Hammond, G.O. I don't know how to say your last name, and I feel bad because it looks kind of, I don't know, it may be Italian. Dungeon McKick, I already said that. Tommy Boy. If you guys got any questions for Gonz, type them in big letters, even though I have my readers on.
All right, hold on. I think I'm gonna try to join the chat room here.
There you go. Gonz is gonna jump in the chat real quick. It is flying.
Let's see here.
And I'm going to throw in the links real quick. For those that haven't seen, I can't even imagine people haven't seen Age of Deceit, but I mean, it's an iconic movie and documentary, and it's all come to pass. I mean, we were just talking about it before we went live. It's got to be, I'd have to say 92% accurate as thus far, which is not the greatest thing, but
I was telling you that I don't keep track of that stuff or anything. I guess I sensed it so strongly that I had to say it. I had to get it off my chest, both Age of Deceit 1 and 2. And there's something brewing in me that's really part of what I think is going to become Age of Deceit 3. But I don't want to spill too much of it, but it's really part of what we're talking about here with all the really dark stuff that's manifesting and the sort of bridge between and looking more at that bridge between the digital world and the paranormal or spiritual world. We're really, a lot of people are recognizing now, like, hey, we are literally building that unseen reality through the virtual worlds. It's through our imagination, it's through our creativity that we create this digital realm. And there we have it. It's a lot of our emotions and everything are tied to it. It's pretty crazy. And then we talk about cryptocurrencies and how they operate and the whole so here's kind of the angle that I've been seeing is that when you look at the idea of a noosphere or a global brain type of situation, before we can get to literally a single thing that covers the entire planet, if you will, or whatever, flat disk, whatever you want to call it. Everybody has different beliefs about that.
Right.
People get mad at me for not talking about that, by the way, but I'm not going to get sidetracked right now.
That's perfectly fine. It makes perfect sense. There's too much. So
yeah, there's too much there. But anyway, so you look at that whole concept of that hive mind, and you see this pattern emerging with decentralized models. You start looking at these businesses that are out there and they're brilliant concepts. I'm like, yes, decentralized models to combat with the centralized globalist institutional system. Perfect. All these companies are going to start coming out with, these systems that work better than the centralized private servers and all that stuff. Anyway, that model, while is great to fight the tyrannical system that is encroaching us on the internet and digitally, can also be used for great amounts of slavery, if you will. I really think people can get enslaved by AI DAOs or art DAOs, or some people call them, which are basically these artificially intelligent companies that provide for you, all the goods and services that you would need as a civilization. And even all the whole digital system is provided for you as an artificially intelligent entity. It's protected corporately as a person, and that's why you look at Europe and they're trying to create personhood for the machine. All the jurisdiction and everything is leading to this sort of manifestation where artificially intelligent companies are also people, and they also control you, and it's just way too massive if you think about it. So while I think there's going to be sort of a small, and I don't take this the wrong way, I'm going to say golden age, but I don't mean that in the esoteric sense.
Right.
And kind of like the way the positives of all that technology will take over for a while, and then I think it's going to get really dark and bad after that.
Let me ask you real quick. I had a good one for you. Somebody before we went live, I was watching the chat and getting things set up for the most part. And somebody had mentioned that they were listening to a doctor who said that you can take the mark of the beast and then get rid of it afterwards. Have you ever heard of such a thing, or do you know who the doctor is I'm talking about?
I've heard
his name escapes me right now.
Yeah, I think there was a pastor. It could have been John MacArthur. Don't quote me on that, but said something similar. I don't know. The way I read the scripture there, with Revelation 13 and 14 and on, it just seems like, no, there's no redemption at all. So, you know, I don't think there's really an option there once you take it. And the other point there is that the more important point is that people are going to willingly take it. That's kind of the spiritual message there, that like people are just going to be like, yes, finally we can do this and we can be a part of this whatever, you know, thing. And they're going to willingly want to take it. So, you know, it's really fascinating to look at, because all those aspects seem to tie together and make up this crazy thing we're in right now.
Let me ask you real quick. You said that you weren't brought up in a religion. I wasn't either. What was it that made you, did you feel a void? Did you feel like something was missing? Even though you said that you thought religion was crazy, because I did too. I always thought people that were walking around, you know, have you heard the good word? We were basically programmed into thinking people like that were crazy. And it's amazing how much the Bible and how much even mentioning Christ's name brings out pure hate from people right now, like I've never seen before.
Yeah, it's weird. I definitely grew up in that environment where if I heard it, it's kind of like, dude.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to hear that right now. And like, but the void thing, dude, that is so true. And the perfect example for that with me in my life is just being a musician, and like without even trying to, you know, whatever. I'm not trying to purposely be satanic or anything, but like because I liked metal music and rock music and stuff like that. Man. Just kind of just like, yeah, Satan, sweet. You know, like that was kind of like not in any like meaningful way, but just as a default, because I'm searching for something. I was searching for meaning, you know, and music brought me meaning, or what I thought was meaning, right? Like it made me have a sense of purpose at that time. And it was like, oh, it's filling this void, but dude, it's not enough. Just music? No, dude, or especially metal music. That's not going to do it for you in life. So, you know, I've grown out of that, but then seeing the bigger picture of like, whoa, there's something that transcends all of it. And there's a proper context for everything, even music. And just realizing that there's a central good, you know, that's there. And it's found in the Gospels. It's just crazy, man, because you're right. It is a turnoff, you know, at first. You're like, no, dude, the gospel, Christ, Jesus, I don't want to hear about that.
Yeah, that ruins everything.
Yeah. And it is a complicated life after that. It's like I recognized all the arguments against it at a sort of cultural level were invalid. Like my own arguments against Christianity at a cultural level were like completely invalid. So I was like, all right, I got to reevaluate that. And then that kind of started to chink away at the armor. And then it was really the personal relationships with people in my life that completely changed my perspective on everything. And that's the important part that we're missing now too, with social media and all this stuff, is that local community, local connection, family, friends, those types of things are few and far between that in the digital world we live in. And so we have to, you know, we got to find a way to maintain those parts or aspects of our lives, you know, because otherwise we're going to get totally lost, and we're literally going to sit in front of the computer 24/7. And at that point, it's like, great, we might be discussing some really important stuff, but what are we really living life at that point?
Right. To what end? It's funny that you bring up music, because I mean, I'm 49 years old, so I grew up with Judas Priest, Metallica, Iron Maiden, and today, for instance, because I was watching that NASA's claiming they have a new probe that's going to shoot right up to the sun, basically, it made me think of Icarus.
Yeah.
And then I go back and I see another video today somebody else put up talking about the, you know, alien deception, and they mentioned Iron Maiden particularly. And if you look at the videos from the 80s, it is loaded with symbolism. And bands like that, they were making heavy metal music, but they were literally singing literature and mythology.
Yeah.
It's crazy to even think of it. I didn't even know what I was listening to back then. And when you look back at it now, it all plays. And it's really odd that you just brought that up, because I was just thinking about metal, which is, I don't even, unfortunately and sadly, I have a difficult time listening to music now because I understand it. And that's one of the suck things about being awake, I'd have to say, because I love music. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've been through that whole long road of, you know, being a musician too. You know, it's kind of like, because my biggest thing was like, I wrote about my anger in my heart. And once I was saved, I was like, it's gone. That like deep-seated anger is gone. Like I still had like moments of rage or whatever, but that like sort of dark thing that's inside of you was it just disappeared. So I was like, oh, that was what was fueling my desire to play music, And then that's when I realized, like, oh, that's why I was so unhealthy. Like, that's why the whole world of that is so unhealthy, because you're driving your soul from something that's really not that important. I mean, when it comes down to it, becoming a big rock star musician and having your face plastered over all over the place, and that's not a life that you necessarily want or need. So it's the big lie. It's the age of deceit that we live in.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me how many things. Did you ever think you'd see something like spirit cooking come out to the forefront? I mean, that took me by surprise.
No, you're right. That was kind of surprising. Surprising in a sense that it was out there, not surprising that that's what it was. I think many of us felt vindicated in some way, like, hey, dark stuff is going on, and here you go. Like, this is if you're willing to look at it, it's very dark, and I don't mean to laugh about it. It's a serious issue, but it's just one of those things where, people doubted a lot of that stuff, and it's out there now. But man, I can't help but think that a lot of it is systematically being released, in a certain way. The well was going to burst. Agree. Yeah, the well was going to burst anyway, so I might as well control the outflow, and hence WikiLeaks and all that stuff. I think there's value in it. Like, yeah, there is actual truth being thrown out there, so I think we should look at it and point it out, especially when it's confirming so much of what we've been saying. But at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, what's really the agenda here? What's the ultimate end? Why is there a consistent carrot on a stick kind of feel to all of this? So I just think people should be aware, not get lost in one topic. Keep your eye on the bigger picture.
Right.
Kind of been what I've been going back to over and over again, is that bigger picture mentality. Because then it brings you to that place of like, okay, God's in control. The word is true. Yeah, bad stuff's going to happen, but we got to save souls. That's really our commission. So it brings it back to that, and then and then we're good to go.
It's crazy because I used a small piece, I think about 2 or 3 minutes out of Age of Deceit, when Marina Abramovich first came out to the masses, and they were showing her doing the quote unquote art, or the spell as I called it. There's a point in there where she has a small, what can only be described as a golem in the corner, and she's pouring fecal matter and dried blood and everything else on it. And it just makes me think of Jumbo and Aleister Crowley and L. Ron Hubbard and Jack Parsons, exactly like you told everybody so many years ago. I mean, it was right there for everyone to see, and it had been on the internet. No one really noticed it.
Right.
I mean, this stuff is real.
Yeah, they truly believe in a lot of that mythology that's either literal or not. Some of the acts that they do surrounding it is pretty deplorable. So,
right?
Yeah, you got something to say? And she's
going to need her own channel soon.
I know. Yeah. Okay.
How old is she, Gonz, if you don't mind?
She's a little over 2 months old.
I kind of already knew that. I thought it was like 90 days or something. I'm not a parent, so I'm not really familiar with all that.
Oh, it's
all
crazy,
that stuff.
Man. It's crazy. Spit up, baby spit up. That's fun.
So is sleep no longer a luxury?
You know what? A lot of people were telling me about that, but I think I barely slept anyway, so it kind of works out. Really?
Well, I kind of figured that by the depth of your research, because it's amazing. There's a lot of good researchers, but the stuff that you brought out was, at first it seemed just absolutely insane. And then as the years go by, it was like, wow, I heard about this someplace before. And then, it just started clicking off one after another, after another, after another. It was just a really good question. Some people are asking, just your opinion. We're not looking to set any dates, but people, we've got August 21st with the eclipse going from northwest to southeast. Right. Some people think that that's a good time for them to try to tear the veil with the Ogdode passing over the United States. Does that make any sense to you?
A little bit. I haven't been tracking every little detail, but I can probably follow you a little bit down that rabbit trail. Yeah, that and also I guess the September 23rd, right, with the alignment. So those are the big 2 dates. And certainly, I think ritualistically they're going to be doing a lot of stuff. As to whether they're going to hit some kind of button or pull some kind of trigger to make something happen at a bigger scale. Like, that's the question with every single one of these events that happen, you know, throughout the years. Every year there's something, right? We sit there, we wait for some kind of date, and usually nothing happens. Usually, you know, it's pretty low key, and you know, again, we just have to stay ready. You know, like if it goes down, then there you go, it went down, and we're just in a completely different world, and we have to really go out there and evangelize, because it's really happening. Like it's coming down. And if not, then we just keep doing what we're doing and trying to wake people up. So yeah, that's the approach I take. You know, I'm not freaking out about it. I'm not going to hype it any more than I think people have already hyped it enough. So I don't know. Maybe that's a turn off to some people, but it's just kind of how I feel about it.
Well, you gotta notice, you gotta take note that a lot of times when we've made videos covering certain topics and then they caught fire, you can't help but think that we at least slowed them down, because there's no two ways about it that our activities are being monitored. I mean, they show that in their, you know, how they ban things and censor things and unsubscribe and all this other stuff.
Right.
You got to think that it has an effect on the outcome. You know, if they think nobody's paying attention, they might make a drill turn live or whatever, because they've done it before. There's no two ways about it. Right. But something like an astronomical event like that. Well, for us here in Boston, I mean, yesterday was Memorial Day weekend, and that is the unofficial start of summer. And I literally live 30 feet away from the Atlantic Ocean. So we have beach traffic all summer long. It literally, you would think that we were in London. The sky is entirely gray. It's not raining out. It's just entirely gray at all times. And it's 56 degrees. Yesterday it was 48, which is incredibly unseasonable. And it's so rare that anyone even says, hey, where's the sun? No one even says it.
Yeah, we're all distracted.
But that's an amazing trick. When they talk about the Great Deception, people are like, oh, they couldn't pull something like that off. They have literally managed to block out the sun, moon, and stars from our view. And most people don't even, it's not even a topic. You'd think it would be in the front page of the paper. People would be talking about it at the water cooler. It's not even a topic. It used to be sunny out every day. Once in a while, we'd have some weather. Remember looking up at the clouds and you're like, hey, there's a bunny, there's a turtle, whatever. Now the clouds look like tic-tac-toe boards.
Yeah.
And they've come right out and said it, and nobody seems to care. Poor David Keith. He's getting angry comments. He already put up another article on the Harvard University website, and he said, conspiracy theorists are attacking me, and some of them are very frightening. It's just amazing how they put it out there, they wait, and then they come back out with the disinfo. And people buy it hook, line, and sinker.
Yeah. The chemtrail thing is really, I think anybody living, especially in California, it's so obvious. Like it's ridiculous that you wouldn't question it, because I grew up in Southern California, so I kind of remember. But even then, like even as a kid, thinking like, it's kind of weird, some of the clouds. But I know the natural clouds, what they look like. They're totally different, you know. And it's just one of those things where it's so obvious because it's above you. Yet people don't question. They don't even consider it. And it's frustrating sometimes when you bring it up, because when I've brought it up with people in the community, they all agree. They're like, yeah, it's weird, man. Like even people that have no idea what's going on, they're like, yeah, that's bizarre, you know? Or like they'll say, I don't know about the conspiracy stuff, but yeah, it's kind of weird that you can see it's not natural or whatever. Right. And it's like, dude, you look into it for 10 minutes and you'll find out that it's not natural. And there are many reasons why they might be doing this, and I know we've looked at the possibilities, in various angles and things like that. But what do you think? Like, what do you think that it's just, did they already have nano dust covering all of us, and everything's becoming alive, basically, like turning into black goo?
It makes sense, and it makes sense that they're doing everything in a multifaceted way now, because they literally have the advantage of quantum computers. So they can think of everything that they do is on a quantum level. So I don't think there is one straightforward answer. I do think that if you look it up, if you were going to project holographic images or something to that effect in the sky, the best medium would be aluminum, barium, strontium, heavy metals that you can spread out just like they do. But also, you can't help but notice that all of that stuff that's up there, people don't seem to be concerned about the fact that they have to breathe it in. That doesn't just stay up there and then fly off into outer space, and then it doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And it's affecting. I mean, we drove down the highway the other day, went through a couple of states real quick, and on the side of the road, I've always been super aware of my surroundings. The highways are always really nice and green in the summer, the springtime. In some places like Virginia, other states, North Carolina, they have wildflowers on the side of the road. Now the grass is red. I have it in my backyard. I have it across the street. It never existed. It popped up out of nowhere. So when certain people say that they're trying to terraform the planet, you can't really argue. I mean, there's so many things. We could all be breathing in nanodust, because according to them, according to what they've released, the medical, the scientific, they do have smart dust, little tiny things that can self-replicate. They can connect themselves inside your body. I can't prove that, but I can't disprove it. I think it's a very multifaceted thing. But the one thing that the Bible tells us, and this rings, I mean, I can't quote passages, a few here and there, but the signs will be in the sun, moon, and stars. And they've taken that away from us. We can't even see them anymore.
Yeah, the day of the Lord, mentioned over and over again. Those are the sun, moon, star signs, is definitely part of the beginning of the judgment era, as I kind of see it. But yeah, out here in Orange County and kind of LA County a couple months ago, they were spraying by the coast heavily, like every half hour or something they would spray, and you would see the wind. The breeze coming off the shore take the clouds inland towards LA County. And I drove out to a little bit past Tustin and kind of, I don't know, these are sort of names of local areas, but a little bit north, so I can sort of see into the LA County area, kind of in the distance, and you can see the lines of the chemtrails all sort of just piling up north of me, which was again LA. And I thought, man, this is crazy. You can literally see them pouring out the chemtrails,
right?
And you can trace it across the sky as it all just falls, towards Los Angeles and inland. And I'm on the coast, so I think some of it is blowing over our heads. But if you're a little bit more inland, man, I think a lot of that stuff is falling all over the place.
Well, we found there was a really great video put out the other day, and I apologize if you're listening, but I can't think of the name right now. I think I actually put it up. And he was showing down in Mississippi how NASA has an enormous area that they've purchased. They told the people that live there, either you stay here and you'll never hear your television play ever again, or take the money and move away. And I guess everybody did that. This machine isn't aerospace. It's nothing like that. It's an enormous cloud making machine. And the guy that was doing the report from the BBC was out there dancing because NASA made an enormous cloud. It sounded exactly like a clap of thunder. And then within minutes, this cloud started raining. They've been doing this for a really long time. They have it in the air. They have them out at sea. And then they have it appears that they have connected water surface air coolers all over the planet that all kick off in unison and cause things like, when I went to West Virginia last year to help those flood victims, those people said the water came out of nowhere, and within hours they had 4 to 5 feet of water throughout an entire county, and it was killing people. Now, I've been to the mountains. I spend a lot of time hiking, survivalist stuff, things like that. There was, like, if we flooded here, it's okay because it's the ocean. It's what you get. You live next to the ocean. Sometimes the ocean comes in the house. It is what it is. You live next to the Mississippi. Sometimes it overflows. There was no source of water. The sky literally opened up and flooded them instantaneously. And some people went to the next rad radars and checked it. They saw that all these factories owned by corporations all over the country were suddenly releasing into the atmosphere. And then next thing you know, boom, unbelievable biblical type weather. It's staggering.
Yeah. And, it makes you wonder what they're doing in terms of shifting around certain temperature or climates across the whatever you believe it is, the globe or the pancake, whatever.
Right.
And questionably, the thing about Antarctica, like, what are they melting down there, or around there, whatever you call, wherever you think it is? What are they doing down there where maybe they're really melting a lot of ice on purpose to reveal some hidden stuff, you know. So that kind of stuff could be announced, I think. Man, any given day, I suppose, because, you know, the more we see with the Catholic Church, the Vatican, and their whole, you know, exo-Vaticanus stuff and all the alien stuff that they're pushing, kind of in waiting, right? And at the same time, this Pope now is just building the New World Order, like just doing the whole, you know, the whole thing, the globalist thing, UN agenda, all that stuff, and building it from that end. Eventually, the two sides are going to meet. You know, the road is going to connect, and, you know, again, it all heads back to Rome, but at the same time, it's going to look different, you know, because of all this different stuff with aliens and whatnot. And I think, you know, they'll trickle out information on that end as well. They'll say, hey, we found a, you know, I don't know, ancient city or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. I don't want to say anything that's, you know, going to be misconstrued as like a prediction. So
that's the tough thing. That's the, it's very hard for some people to wrap their minds around it, but there are literally armies of trolls that will take any sentence that you may say and make it into a debunked video.
Oh yeah, dude.
Richie and Gonz are reptilians, and they're trying to trick everybody. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Well.
But you can't help but notice that you have all sorts of secret society people. You can't help but notice the Antarctic Treaty. I mean, according to the mainstream media, at every given moment, there's terrorists. I mean, they literally Britain put out a terror warning for Antarctica. The terrorists were going to go over there and blank.
Right.
That makes no sense.
Yeah. That adds a whole different dimension to everything that we've been looking at, because now it's like, okay, well, why all of a sudden all this attention on Antarctica, and then why all of a sudden terrorist threats? It's like, okay, makes you think.
Right. ISIS is suddenly moving to Antarctica. So it makes me want, I mean, it's too big of a field to go into in a short live stream like this, but it does make you wonder. And they're not going down there for, you know, Karelin goes down there. The Pope goes down there. Skull and Bones go down there. Every astronaut goes down there. And then wackily enough, unusual tweets from said astronauts pop out saying, beware, danger. And then it's debunked. But it's always put out just long enough for everyone to see it and for it to catch fire.
Right.
So I think they kind of want people thinking that, but it's hard to tell. It's really hard to tell, because there's just, I mean, we literally, no pun intended, we live in an age of deceit. Everything, what's good is evil and what's evil is good. I mean, it really is coming to pass, and it's crazy.
Yeah. And man, what we're doing to ourselves, and I mean that in sort of the mankind way, with transhumanism and all that, is there's a part of me that's so sad. It's like, why do we have to turn to that kind of stuff to, you know, draw meaning and purpose in our lives? And but that, again, you're right, it's part of the age of deceit, that we you know, that we don't have a God. That's a big part of it. You know, God was removed from, you know, everything pretty much in the world, and at least in America, you know, it's big time removed, and it's corrupt in the actual institution that is supposed to represent it, or has the name that bears it. So yeah, it's completely upside down. And a lot of us who have been trying to speak, you know, the truth of the gospel through all of this stuff, man, it's a crazy sort of fight, because you know, you're going to have people that are going to call, you know, that cause division in the worst way. And I've tried not to be involved in any of that, because I've noticed also that there's a lot of topics that have come to the forefront that seem to be in part to divide, to get people to take sides on a particular issue. And I kind of see right through it, as many people have. And,
right.
At the same time, I think there's value in those topics, so I'm not going to dismiss them. And I've talked about them in brief, or, you know, even in, you know, we did a whole podcast. I'm talking about flat Earth as one example. And I don't mean to offend any flat earthers out there, because I think, you know, as people who look at flat Earth, I think you guys are genuine in your search, and I think you guys are genuine in your belief about the cosmology of where we live. And you know what? I can't even say that it's not flat. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I've never been up there personally. But at the same time, I don't know that it's a sphere either. I don't know that I don't know, because I've never seen it for myself. And so
it's the beauty of everything. Everything that's been released, you can find links that go back a long time ago that looks like they were getting ready to set it up and release it when they needed to do exactly that.
and
I try to
no
tell
matter,
people, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, no matter what the shape of the earth is, you're right that there's this agenda to release information to deceive a whole lot of people, and especially Christians out there. And this is, kind of my biggest thing, and part of my mission with the channel and everything is to help Christians, especially because those in the church, I've had too many experiences just being a tech and being behind the scenes at a more seeker-friendly church, that, man, they are going down a path that is not good. At the beginning of Age of Deceit 2, Paul Washer talks about sending, the college kids right into the devil's teeth, with the whole education system. And all that.
It's beautiful.
It's so true also in the church, because everything that's happened in this world of, the alternative conspiracy world or whatever, they're huge deals. Like, there have been a lot of revelation and a lot of things that have come to pass that are major, major deals about where we're headed and everything else and the trajectory of things. But most people that go to church on Sundays have no clue. They're just like, okay, yeah, all right, the whatever, CERN or whatever. Like they just don't grasp it. And the Bible says that it could deceive the elect if possible. And again, I don't think it's possible when it comes to push and shove. Like, are you going to take the mark or not? That I think at that point it's pretty clear. Each individual has made up their mind, but up until then, it's a battle. Up until then, it's sort of trying to get people to wake up and realize that what you're meddling in is satanic. We live in a satanic world. And, I got some criticism from people like, oh, you're looking at Bitcoin. How can you buy Bitcoin or look into invest in something like that when you know it's the beast? When you know it's the beast system. And it's like, all right, let me ask you this. Pull into your pocket, pull out money if you have cash money, and on your dollar bill, what does it have? It's got the all-seeing eye pyramid. It's got the Phoenix Rising. That's their whole agenda. I think that's part of the encoded stuff for the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency in general. But you've had it in your wallet the whole time, this whole fake money thing, so it's just a different form now. And right. That's another point, tying it back to the Bitcoin, and you're making me go on all these rants, Richie. I don't know.
It's okay. It's okay. That's what it's all about, man.
But just because I've been looking at it, the whole concept of with the cryptocurrencies and where it's headed, I think it's going to create, I don't want to give all of it away because it's part of the film of Age of Deceit 3.
Well, then keep it close. Keep it close. You don't have to put it out there. It's your call, totally.
Okay. All I'll say is that I think it does play a major role in all of this, and I think it's going to cause, a lot of turmoil. And I think, Sean from SGT Report talked about what's going on in Venezuela, other nations, the Coptic Christians getting killed. This stuff's really starting to happen quickly, and it's just a matter of time before all this kind of more chaotic stuff, turns more westward, I guess you can say.
Right.
And in that process, I think they are trying to have or stage some sort of financial revolution or collapse, and I think they're waiting for the perfect time to do it, and they're setting themselves up to maneuver around the dollars that are, the thin air dollars, and cryptocurrency is a perfect place to move those dollars into, and kind of not control the market, but at least have a say in the market, and I think a lot of globalist types have already been in there. So I think, without giving away sort of the big punchline, I think we should start looking at these cryptocurrencies. We should look at it and then go back and read Revelation 13, Daniel 2 and Daniel 7, and all the biblical passages that allude to the prophetic time in the future. And I think a lot of us will start saying, okay, because a lot of it is technical. Okay. When you start looking at Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, and you start looking at how some of these new companies like 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗱 network, it's a cryptocurrency that is actually publicly stated as being the first network, public supercomputer that everyone can use. And again, the concept, awesome. But why are you calling yourself 𝗦𝗵𝗿, number one? And number two, it sits on the Ethereum thing, and I can get into all the details. Again, it gets very technical, but you look into that and then you go back and read the scriptures and you'll say, whoa, there is a whole new angle to this that we've been tracing all along, but it's really come to a big point here where a lot of things can shift around and change. And the Rothschilds had the rising phoenix on the cover of The Economist in 1988 that said 2018 one world currency. And I think the digital revolution and the Bitcoin thing and everything that's happening might play a huge part in the Rothschilds getting what they want in having that one world currency. And so that's the kind of stuff that I think we should prepare ourselves with and be honest about what that stuff is, the cryptocurrencies. And at the same time, the learning how to sustain yourself, that stuff is, the prepper stuff, the basic prepper stuff. Because again, there are some heavy dates coming up. If something does go down, this would be a great time to do it. Occultically or esoterically, these people have reasons to do things at certain times. And so if they do pull the trigger on something, some sort of major collapse or some sort of, even if we see crazy inflation, like even more inflation than we're seeing now, I think eventually it's going to pop, right? Because the inflation's happening everywhere now. And
right.
and if it does pop and the dollar really crashes, then unless there's an EMP in the process, the digital currency will have some sort of safety net in terms of being able to continue to conduct some sort of trade via the internet, which all our money has become internet tied anyway.
Right.
All of our central banks that control everything, it's all websites. It's all, we can still use checks and stuff, but it's all pretty much digital. And most banks do have a stronghold on how much money we can take and take out, all that stuff. So, that part of it, I know a lot of people have been looking at it for a long time, the financial changes that happen, but it is at the heart of the mark of the beast. And I think right now it's time to really start waking up a lot of people to, not just like Bitcoin is sort of this fad thing and getting into it as part of a trading thing. And I'm a trader and I'm not that, but more like, okay, let's really dig into the technology that they're building. Platforms like Ethereum, Coin, like I mentioned, Golem, there's a lot of them that have these great concepts and ideas that, again, solve some pretty important issues in the immediate future of, abstaining from the globalist institutionalized, central governments. But at the same time, there is a overarching concern when you look at it, sort of a bigger picture, again, stepping away for a second, that really seems to manifest in the mark of the beast, image of the beast system. And again, I don't know all the details, but it just seems like that's the arc that it's headed to. And there are even people in the world of programming and writing code for this kind of stuff who have expressed like, hey, I have this deep concern for AI because, it could be really, really bad. And that's the sentiment amongst most people that are in the tech world. Yet we just keep building it and we just keep moving forward. We don't do anything about it. And we're not going to do anything about it until it's probably too late. So, just be aware. And, again, that's when you start asking questions like what would the elite do if they face a ET/AI/whatever it's going to present itself as, and it's a public thing, and it's either it's hostile or benevolent. You have different perspectives, different angles. Everybody has a position on how that plays out. But how does it? How would the information spread? What would we do in that situation? Would the elite, like some elite with a shred of mankind left in their heart, be like, oh, we should EMP the central, whatever, like this whole network, this whole country, so we can take down the entire or a big part of the blockchain or whatever. That kind of stuff can go down, and so there are other ways to protect ourselves in hard assets and things like that are more important. But again, looking into the future and sort of projecting where things are headed, I see cryptocurrencies as being a big part in the mark of the beast. And I'm going to look into it more, and I'm going to keep people appraised on that end of it, because the technologies are interesting, they're fun, they're exciting, but at the same time, they're potentially very dangerous as things develop.
And it's amazing how accepting and how helpless people are without technology.
Yeah.
GPS. I mean, people can't even remember phone numbers. The feeling of dread when you leave your house without your phone, something that didn't even exist 24, 25 years ago.
Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, some people are coming up right now and don't even understand that the skies used to be blue, the internet didn't exist, and people went outside and played. People went outside and did things. There was community. People weren't afraid of their neighbors. They've done a phenomenal job social engineering this entire planet, and they needed this entire platform to do so. And speaking of cryptocurrencies, they've made it impossible. You can't live on this planet without money. There's just no two ways about it. You can't fish for free. You can't do anything for free. I talk about this all the time. So money is just a necessary evil, if I have to say it.
Yeah, it's a tool. And obviously it's a very abused tool by Satan in that, you know, the love of money is the root of all evil, not just money. Money itself is a tool that's supposed to be used to trade value, right, and things like that. But it does corrupt the heart, and a corrupt heart can use it and, you know, do terrible things with it. And that's the world we live in. We live in a world where, you know, a family like the Rothschilds were able to get their hands on a large chunk of money as it spread across the Western world or whatever. And, you know, they've, you know, they're one of the families of, you know, I think a big group of people that really do have a lot of power in this world, but they don't have all the power. You know, they're still human in a sense. They're still mankind. I hope. I think some of them, maybe not actually. Maybe they've done some experiments on themselves already.
I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure at some point some people have. But you know, it's the thing that a lot of the secular world and people looking at conspiracy have to realize. And I hope that what Pizzagate and the whole pedogate thing and the spirit cooking, I hope what that does is at least get them to recognize that, like, not the Satanist thing is real, that they do worship this spiritual entity, and that shows that, you know, the problem of evil, the problem of you know, assigning evil to people, because it's so easy for us to blame, right? It's easy for us to just place blame on, like, you know, all the Rothschild bloodline, or, you know, the Rockefellers, or, you know, these people. And certainly they have done terrible things, and they will, you know, they have to deal with that with them, with God. So it's not for us to really say, but at the same time, it's like, what is it that they were following? What is that spiritual leading that they had? And that's when you have to recognize, like, okay, it's something that transcends, and it's something that's really, really dark, and it is grabbing a hold of us. You said that feeling when you leave your cell phone at home and you drive off, that feeling of dread, that is really from the pit of hell, right? Like that whole feeling and that whole thing is part of what drives us to be more addicted to these technologies, right? So I think we just have to be careful with how we involve ourselves in these things. And, you know, as I always say, you know, be wise as serpents, gentle as doves, be watchful. You know, we just have to get along with each other and try to help each other out with this stuff. I just see too many people getting divided over stuff, and it really does make me sad. But at the same time, you know, I just try to plow forward and say my piece with things, and, you know, tick off some people or whatever. I tend to do that sometimes.
It's absolutely impossible to keep everybody happy at the same time. I try to tell people to take what you can. The worst thing I've seen happen with the social engineering, and I'm sure you have as well, is people will listen to somebody for 45 minutes, and then he'll say one thing that they don't agree with, and they just throw the baby out with the bathwater. Take what you can and leave the rest. Do you know what I'm saying? Honestly. Yeah. And I never thought I would see the censorship to the level that we're having right now. I mean, the fake news thing was unbelievable. And we knew it was coming, but didn't really get it till it was here for a month. But it's bad. Yeah,
that stuff is. That's the layer that's really undeniable at this point. Like, you don't have an excuse really at this point. Like, I used to be very sympathetic towards people that are like, I don't know about the whole conspiracy. I don't know about controlled propaganda and all this stuff. Like, even yesterday, I'm talking to, you know, some family, and they were this guy, you know, a family member of mine, has never really looked into this stuff. You know, he knows what I do. He knows kind of what I'm into. But even he was just like, dude, I'm sick of it. Like, I see all of it. It's terrible. We live in a fascist country, and he's, you know, he sees it. And if it's that bad, then it's a reality. It's really is happening. You know, it really is happening at that level. But at the same time, I think a lot of people seem or feel helpless. I think that's why Trump won, right? A lot of people tried to do something about it, and, you know, that was part of the whole thing. And we'll see how that plays out. And some of it seems to be, you know, obviously once the whole, you know, Zionist angle came out, is just, you know, it's more of the same stuff, just a different shiny new cover.
I gotta say, for the people that still had any hope left in this, when he handed the Pope a lotus flower called Rising Again. I think that pretty much sealed it. He's part of the club.
Yeah, he's definitely part of the club. He's trying. I think there are aspects of maybe some beliefs that he has about certain topics that seem to rub against the greater general sort of consensus view of the globalists or whatever. That's entirely possible. Like, we disagree about, how we should deal with this, but, we're still in the same club. That's kind of what I think is going on and has been going on. And, I certainly think that there was hope in certain aspects, like the abortion issue with law. It's like, I would like to see, I'm definitely more on the conservative side, if we are to define in those, if we are to discuss in those topics. But the world is bigger than that. The world is more than just the right and the left and conservative and liberals and all this stuff. So we just got to keep in mind that, like, hey, we're much more intricate than just that. We can't buy into that storyline, that headline, because that's what a lot of people have done, and that's why we're so shallow, right? We're just like headline spitting people now. All we do is this. Oh, but this, from Snopes, but InfoWars said this, and so it's just a stupid game that we're playing now.
It's true. All right, Gonz, I gotta get going. I got another one in an hour that I just found out. Is there anything that's pressing right now that you need to drop, or is it you gonna wait for your next video?
Nothing really. I guess we're just gotta keep going forward. There's nothing really in the works. I have a news talk coming up tonight. I don't know. Yeah, I'm working on my website. There's stuff happening. It's just nothing that's in particular.
Well, I'm really glad to see that you're updating the channel as often as you are. It's great that it's one of the high points of my day when there's certain small. It's gotten really small. The group of channels that I follow has really whittled itself down quite a bit, and yours is always up there, of course, because Age of Deceit is timeless. It's amazing to me. People can say whatever they want, but you can't deny the fact that Age of Deceit 1 and 2, the information that you put out is now just news. It's all happened. It's all come to pass. So
well, I appreciate that. I praise God for that. I praise God for that, because that's not really me. I feel like I was just doing what I was led to do. So that's not me making predictions or anything like that. That's just God, doing his thing.
All right, brother. I am going to wrap this up then, because I have another one I just found out in an hour. So that's awesome. I'll be running my mouth all day, it seems. All right. All the links are in the description. Gonz has a Canary Cry Radio. If you never heard of it, this is a great place to go. You can binge listen for hours. I've listened to every single solitary one of these interviews at least 3 times, and I've literally listened to Age of Deceit in the past 5-6 years. I'd have to say probably 40 times without a doubt, and it's just staggering the amount of information that's in there. So, Mr. 𝗫𝗵𝗿, I have to thank you again. Anytime you can make it, let me know, and we'll make it happen.
I appreciate it. Thank you guys in the chat and everybody. I appreciate you guys supporting the Face Like the Sun channel and the whole community. We need your help. We need your support. We really can't do this without you. So this is all being possible because you guys really believe in us as content creators. So thank you.
Let me just interject real quick one thing.
Yeah.
People like Gonz is very, very public. Myself, there are several channels that have really gone out of their way. You don't even understand the amount of static we have to put up in regular life. This stuff affects everything. Once you put yourself out there as somebody that's going against all of the mainstream, it makes your life exponentially more difficult. So if people can help out, it's an awesome thing to do. And at some point, we're going to wake up and YouTube and our channels are going to be gone. That's just a fact. They're already toying with it now. They're figuring out the best way to do it, and that's all there is to it. That's my opinion. I could be wrong. I was married once. At any rate.
Oh, man.
All right, Gonz. I appreciate your time, brother. Thank you for jumping in. And thanks, I hope everything goes well. Hit me up whenever you need me.
Sounds good. Thanks, Richie.
All right, brother. All right, I'm going to jump into the chat real quick. I'm going to give some shout-outs. Take it easy with, because I can only read so fast. Mac Bolin is here. DJ Stereophonic. The infamous Gouda, that's a good one. Drew, Inner Earth, Undertaker, Feather Locklear, Angel Heart, Victoria Clay, Trevor Wignall, Brandon G, Epic Z, another guy, Rannick, Christopher Lee. Oh, I'm on a roll. I'm good like this. Now listen, just because every person that you listen to doesn't agree with every single thing that you agree with doesn't mean you should throw them out because you're losing value. You see what I'm saying? I saw a lot of people saying the earth is flat. That's cool. I can prove without a doubt that NASA is lying more times than not, and I can prove a lot of other things, but until I get my own rocket, I can't say anything definitively, but there's that. Pamela Shelton, Eileen Norris, Kelly Hansen, Erin, Sean Grady, Mandaries Alkud Milan. Did I say that right? Zen Vader, Ta Nam, Tara Bruce, Sean. Oh, son of a. That is going fast. I just said that. What was I saying? I lost it. My vape ran out halfway through, so I was sad. Oh, and now my phone's ringing, which is ideal. At any rate, Dragon Slayer, Osher 6, Sean Grady, West Green, Exodus, Journey's Naughty, of course, Anti-NWO Canada, Max Nemo, Truth Happens, and to all my mods, thank you very much. I hope you guys didn't toss anybody out by accident, but if you did, you know what? It happens. At any rate, Richie from Boston, like, share, subscribe, or don't. I am out.